Well, hello there, my dear children of the apocalypse. How are we doing today? Welcome back to the Doomtime podcast, and welcome once again, Connor or COZZER, as my guest for this episode. We've last spoken early in the year, one of my first guests on the podcast. We had a very nice conversation, and today I want to reintroduce him to the podcast and have a little look at how he's progressing, what he's done in the past 6 months or so, how much he's changed, and we're going to talk a little bit about addictions. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole manlyhood and the aspect of starting a family, growing yourself as an individual, and touching upon some of those very interesting topics that I think the everyday man should be equipped with to be better able to tackle with the intricacies and the adversities of the world. Hope you enjoy, and until next time, take care and safe flying. What have you been up to, actually? Because you've done quite a lot of progress since we last spoke.
Yeah. There's been a lot. There's been a lot going on. So, the website is now done for the actual business, which is nice. It's refreshing to know that actually it's all there. It's all ready. Only thing is, I've got to adjust sort of the transitional process through someone seeing the content and actually buying it. So the past, I'd say 2 weeks, I've been really focusing on what I can do to get that engagement, just so I can get the reach, and just focusing on creating a brand now. So just hitting the gym, making some money, and starting to grow the brand. And in fact, I've made 2 videos already. I haven't actually uploaded them yet because I want to get a load of videos out, recorded, so I can just drop them all at once. So if someone does see a certain video, they can actually click on the page and engage with some more content instead of, oh, he's only got one video and probably forgetting about me. So now the business is ready, now everything is set up, just getting out there, just getting as many people on board as I can, and away from business, just focused on myself, just full time, every second of the day. I mean, I got a fucking whiteboard now.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that, yeah.
Fucking incredible. Like, best investment I've ever made. Any note, because my bed is just down there. Okay, now I'll go to bed and I'll come up with some amazing idea. I'll jump out of bed, I'll write it on the board, because I'm quite conscious of how much time I actually spend on my phone now. So in order not to pick up the phone and get trapped in social media, scrolling, because now I'm back on that, I'm scrolling more. Get up, write it on the board, straight back to bed. And there's no interaction with my phone whatsoever. And that has been such a hack just for getting them 8 hours sleep. It's incredible. Just, yeah. Overall, just optimization of my life, getting the modifications and just absolutely just acing this year, man. That's the focus. Just end this year on a massive upward projection. Just, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So how about you? What's your, because you've been making content and it's been picked up more than what I actually thought. I thought maybe sort of 100 views a video, but you're getting a good 3, 4, 500, and there's people commenting and understanding why you're doing it, which I personally think is great. It's nice to see that people are fully behind you with it.
Thanks. Yeah, it was, I think the start was a little bit, obviously quite boosted, because people are still thinking, oh, this is going to be some worth in the content, and then it's not. And then the views dropped off, and I didn't really care. You know, like I said, I think last we spoke, I was like, I killed off the channel. I don't really care, but they're still there. And like I was saying, there's consistent, comments. People keep saying, keep doing the videos. They even give me some suggestions. There's a lot of requests, I think, to do with meal prepping, which is something I want to do in the future. Maybe like a couple of shorts on Instagram, whatnot. So at the moment, the plan really is to just try to record as much footage as possible. Just to have a bit of a database really of footage you can use. But I've had to put some of my projects a bit on hold. I was focusing, at least for the last month, a lot of work because essentially the company that I work for, we had a lot of things that have to be prepped up for Q4, and I like the job and I want to keep it, and so I was putting a little bit more effort into that. But like you said, to do the upward projection towards the end of the year, I want to get the English thing sort of finalized, get it up there, maybe do a couple of Facebook and Google ads, and just see what happens. Because I had a dream the other night that I sold the first 3 courses, and it was like a really good feeling. And I thought, you know what, let's aim for that in reality. And then there's obviously the podcast, the videos, the stuff that I make here, which I want to do a bulk recording in the very near future, just to get everything finished up for the end of the year. And then the last video, I want it to be similar to the How Gaming Addiction Saved My Life. Something longer, something a bit more, in depth, but also it's going to take probably a good week or two to get edited.
Nice. Yeah, happy days. And in fact, just as you mentioned, how the gaming addiction saved my life, I think you should do a video uh, very similar to the one that you uploaded 2 years ago on Christmas Day. The real big emotional story. I just to have one of them right at the end
You
of
mean
just
the
your
the bulking one?
No. That was the that
Trying to
was the
recall.
how game and addiction saved my life.
Yeah, it's the original
That
one.
yeah, the
Yeah,
original OG where you went from
yeah.
War Thunder cycling and just a video like that.
That's the plan basically.
Just
Yeah,
just just for the past year. That would be incredible.
yeah,
What a way to finish the year.
yeah.
What a way.
Because then next
And
year,
yeah,
the focus probably is going to be on podcasts, and depending on how much time will be devoted, because a lot of work goes into it, and obviously the monetary value isn't there for any foreseeable future, really. Which means that I want to create a system where it's not taking up too much of my time. I don't want it to be a time guzzler, but at the same time, it is something I realized it just yesterday. I was actually talking to a friend from a mastermind group, and we were having a bit of a podcast ourselves in Slovene. But I realized just as we were talking, just how much energy was being, converted. How I was, feeding from him, and he was feeding from me. And at the end, we were both just like energized and ready to, get stuff done. Um, just this morning, I woke up like really slouched, didn't have a good night's sleep, and we've been talking now for half an hour, setting everything up, and I feel energized. I feel ready to get stuff done. And as soon as we're going to finish, I've got a set of tasks, that on my whiteboard that have to get accomplished. And I think that's the drive that I seek from podcasting, is that you talk to people, and those people are able to sort of give you energy, and you give them energy, and at the end of the day, it's a surplus of energy.
yeah, 100%. And I've experienced myself as well with another network that I'm in, talking to some people. I done a role play Wednesday afternoon, and it was a sales role play. So this bloke sort of came in. He said, "Look, I need a little bit of help role play." I was like, "Yeah, I'll do that." So that sounds like great fun. So I come in, and he was trying to sell me a product to help me grow my business. It was all fake, but I sat down. I was like, "Yes, this is good." And we had such a good connection, and it was nice to speak to someone who was very similar, sort of to me. Things that he wanted to do was very similar, and after all, we just had a really good chat, just about life and helping each other out. It's definitely something that all blokes should do, even well, not even blokes really, just everyone. If you're focused on a goal, talk to as many people as possible, because guarantee you that they will hold you accountable. They will hold you accountable for every little thing that you do, which is good, because sometimes you do go off the rails. Sometimes you aren't exactly the most disciplined person in the world,
Yeah.
and I've definitely felt that. But I've got some good mates behind me who would sort of criticize me for not doing the right thing, and even at work, they know what I want to do, and they'll even say, look, you preach all these things, but actually you went and done this. I was like, no, you are right. This is completely wrong of me. So it's definitely important to network, speak to as many people as possible. Yeah, that's it. That is just focus. So
No,
Well,
100%.
I'm going to have to take a little bit of a pause here because it's a bit dark.
No, it's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's as you're saying, networking is so important. I didn't realize it beforehand, and it was, I think, the process of last year looking for a job and then finally getting it and being in this state where you're like, okay, I like this job. Oh no, what if I lose it? What if I get fired tomorrow? And there's this weird fear. But having networked, I know that if I lose my job today, I've got a new one tomorrow, potentially even a better one, because I've got a connection, because I know somebody, because he appreciates that I've got skill sets in various different areas. And one of the key factors I think that networking also does, as you said, you're connected to people that have got this energy that will keep you accountable, and they're able to constructively tell you, actually, you're doing this thing wrong, and they'll tell you why you're doing it wrong. Or I've got a friend that he'll just say, why haven't you done it? And I'll sit there, I'll think, well, this happened and that. No. Why haven't you done it yet? And he'll keep repeating that question until eventually you realize that you don't really have a good excuse. You just didn't do the stuff that you said you were going to do. And I'm now training my brain to essentially have, and this was actually in the book, the Think and Grow Rich book. There's this, the author is basically describing that he imagines there's a giant room, like a meeting hall, and what he does is he puts in there influential people from the past. Like he'll take, Roosevelt and different presidents and Tesla and all these guys that are really, the pinnacles of their time, and he would essentially pretend that he walks into that room and then all of them give him feedback. So I'm trying to build in my own head, like a collection of, let's say, 5 people. I think 5 is totally enough people that you respect, that are your idols, that will just walk in there and just, what color is your Bugatti? Essentially, you want to have that one guy in head that just sort of like, it's not about putting you down, it's about filtering. Let's say I have an idea, okay, what would Elon say? What would Tate say? What would, I don't know, Joe Rogan say? Like, run it through a couple of these people and think to yourself, at the end of those 5 short conversations, am I really hyped up to do it? Or am I like, yeah, maybe this needs a little bit of revision. Maybe I'm going the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to be, and you are the 5 people who
Yeah.
you surround yourself with, and if you are surrounding yourself with them sort of content creators, you are going to specifically be a lot like them. And I definitely found the same with you when I was growing up, especially sort of being 16, 17, being the only content creator that I really watched. And you have just got to grow, but I do think it's good whilst you are learning to pick your own opinions.
Hmm.
Now, in terms of Rogan, I don't really watch him. Haven't exactly got enough time, but perhaps it's something that I could listen to the podcast at the gym. But with with Tate, I can definitely see how he's progressed from perhaps 10 years ago, just trying to get himself out there to actually now sort of calming down, um, following his new religion and trying to make men as responsible as they should be. And I've definitely, even before Tate, I thought that, look, I don't want to be the gentleman that goes around just taking the piss. I want to have uh, lots of respect, and I want to treat myself as a gentleman. And for people to perhaps pick up his mannerisms and specifically live by his mannerisms, I think is wrong. I think that people should be able to analyze the good things and the
Hmm.
bad things, because there's stuff wrong with everybody, and they should be able to craft their own identity from that. And that also goes back to when I was laying bricks, and well, I mean, I technically still am laying bricks, but it was always best to have multiple teachers, multiple people teaching you different ways, because it improves you. You aren't just a copy and paste of your mentor. You pick up a little bit from him, you pick up a little bit from him, and oh, actually, the way that these two do things aren't the best ways,
Hmm.
since I've been learning with someone else. And you do tend to pick up your own ways, and that's that's how people should actually live. They should pick up what other people do and realize what they like about them, what they dislike about them, and grow themselves. And if that's the sort of person they want to be, then that's the sort of person they want to be. Learn as many skills as possible, but keep your eyes focused on the main goal,
Hmm.
and just to become better. As long as you're better than what you were 3 months ago, ultimately, I don't really think it matters too much about how you get there.
Yeah, I think so too. I think looking back, I try to sort of live life sometimes a day at a time, because you'll have a bad day, you'll have a bad moment. It's like, okay, as long as today is better than yesterday, we're making progress, And I think it's good to sort of write down your goals and see how much you've progressed, and whether this is how many miles you've run, or how much weight you've gained or lost, or whatever the sort of goals are. Maybe it's monetary, maybe it's women, maybe it's getting a better relationship with your family. It's yeah, and like you said, isn't there all that adage, where they say like a smart man will learn from his own mistakes, but a really smart man will learn from mistakes of others. So if you observe other people, and in the case of Tate, I think that his biggest mistake, people will say, was that he was really, really aggressive and he was controversial. But at the same time, if he wasn't that, then he wouldn't have come this far. And I think he's created a opportunity to now have a redemption arc where he can now re-enter with a different frame and say, okay, yeah, certain things I've done or said were a little bit on the extreme end, and sure, some of my businesses were a little bit, far-fetched and perhaps not beneficial for the world. Because me personally, I'm always fighting with this idea, obviously everybody I think would love to be rich at some point, but the question is how you get there. Is some people have a very strong moral compass, and they'll be like, no, I'm not doing, X, Y, or Z because it would be bad for society. Like, I'll give an example. Let's say, you go into e-commerce and you want to do drop shipping, and you're going to pick some item that the world really doesn't need, like some vape, e-cigarette, whatever. And then, you'll upscale that and sell it to teenagers that don't need it and are now potentially going to be developing cancer so that you can get easy money. I think that's bad. And I personally wouldn't go down that route. But, who are you to judge, essentially? Ultimately, that person who did that might then have the opportunity to have a large source of money, his fund to capital, to then start a company that could actually do something really, really good. But ultimately, it boils down to the individual. Are they morally going in that direction, or are they just in it for the short term benefit?
100%, 100%. It's funny you say that, because Tate was preying on men who were vulnerable, who didn't have the ability to sustain a healthy relationship. Whereas now he's completely flipped on his head, and he wants the men to actually stand up and think, no, you shouldn't have to buy girls only fans. You shouldn't have to sit there watching porn. You should be able to go out and communicate with people. And I think that's definitely a positive from a negative. And look, everyone does it. Everyone makes mistakes, and as long as he can accept the mistakes and move on, then that's fine. There's a lot of stupid people in the world,
Yeah.
and not everyone will like him. But if you have the ability to see the whole picture and understand from another human being's point of view, then I definitely think you're on the right tracks. But I have actually got a question for you. I've got a list of questions
Oh wow. Okay.
that you might like. So, can you share a personal experience with a gaming addiction and the turning point that made you want to recover? Because
Hmm.
we
Um.
know
I mean,
we
yeah. Well,
we know that you are.
the first one that pops into the head is just that one particular duel that I had with. Fuck, I'll probably recall his name as well, but B409 F4. It was I believe it was a quarter final of a tournament that actually had a reward that I wanted, which was a title, and that was one of the first duels where I saw like I actually have the option to get it. Lado Hook, I think it was his name. Probably Russian or Polish. And the situation was basically the following, and that was that whoever was going to win the duel was going to go fight Sokolik. And Sokolik was one of the 3 strongest Russian duelists in the game. So essentially, in my mind, this is how it went down. I thought, I've fought Sokolik a dozen times, and I've only beaten him once. But that means I know I can beat him. As for my opponent, he's never beaten Sokolik as far as I know, which means in my head, being a little bit ego-driven as I was, and perhaps still am, I was thinking, I need to win this, I deserve to win this, so that I actually have a chance at beating the next opponent. And we went into the duel, and the guy actually wasn't showing up. Like, I was sitting there for, I think, probably 25, 30 minutes with chat, waiting for an opponent, which I believe he even told me he wasn't going to show up. So I knew it was a free win. I just had to be there present so the timer runs out. And lo and behold, the guy actually shows up within the last couple of seconds. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit, impolite or whatever, but no problem. We'll deal with it. And if I recall correctly, I win the first of the matches, and then I lose the second. Now I was getting a little bit frustrated. And obviously the third one, the tiebreaker, he got this shot in, which, if you're playing War Thunder, this game, you're in a duel. Essentially what you're doing is you're relying on visuals. You're relying on seeing where his plane is, how it's positioned, because you're doing this turn fight. You're essentially spiraling and spiraling. And, I would have bet all my money that he wasn't going to be able to put a shot into me because his plane, visually on the monitor, wasn't positioned so as to be able to. But he did, and he damaged me, and I was starting to lose my shit, obviously, because it's like, if you're a proper gamer, I think any gamer who's ever had, a real addiction is going to have a high level of competitiveness. We want to win. We're in there because you want to be the best. And when you lose because of making your own mistake, that's something. But when you lose because the game is giving you crap, because there's ping and latency, because something's happening that shouldn't occur, that's when you start to get very frustrated. And I think in that moment, a lot of the boiled-in emotions of having been, I'm pretty sure, at that point I was still a virgin, never had a woman, wasn't socially very adept, I wasn't fit, I wasn't really doing much outside of gaming, and I think a lot of that was starting to sort of surface. And in the moment, I just sort of blew up, and I remember taking these headphones, just throwing them, €500 headphones, and I threw them on the ground. They still have dents in them from it, because I was so pissed at it, If I was a little bit more aggressive, probably would have punched the monitor or something, would have damaged some crap, because you've put years and years and thousands of hours of effort into something, and then you get defeated by something as little as latency, a few pixels on the screen. And I think looking back at it now, it's literally retarded that you get frustrated by pixels on a screen when there's a whole world out there. There's war and famine, and people are going through tough times, and somebody there's driving in a Ferrari, and this guy's doing that, and you're there sitting behind a computer screen entertaining people through pixels. I think it's a sad reality we live in, and I think it's equally sad that you have men who are, like you mentioned before, paying for women's OnlyFans when there's a whole world of pussy out there waiting to be discovered, and you can get it all for free, and it's 10 times better, and maybe you'll fall in love and discover there's a whole new beauty to the world instead of staring at a computer screen.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I do remember that specific moment as well, and it was quite some time ago as well, wasn't it?
I think it was
Good.
2017, I want to say, yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really long time ago.
But that was the moment that, because I think it was in January, and that was the moment that made me want to go back to university. That was my gap year. That was my year of saying, I want to just do YouTube to see if this lifestyle would suit me. Can I do this for 5-10 years and actually be happy with it? And I realized halfway through, I was like, this is totally not for me. I miss people. Something in me said, you want to have a normal life, go to the student, dorm parties and stuff like that. And ironically, I think it was after a couple of months actually that I got late for the first time. So like I needed that. Clearly I needed the process of going through that. And so I'm thankful, BF1 and F4 and Lado, who defeated me through pixels. I can only be thankful for that. You look back at that in that miserable moment in history, and you think that might have actually been one of the best moments of your life.
Yeah, and I was almost the same. I mean, when I started taking self improvement seriously, within 3 months, I'd actually got myself a girlfriend of some sort. It didn't last long because she had her own stuff that she wanted to do, which I was thankful for, learned a lot for, and it was a good experience to see what it was like, but it was also a good experience to sort of know that actually it wasn't the right time. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the right time for me, and I needed to focus more on myself and using that to propel myself into something that I could only have dreamed of becoming. And I definitely think that over the past 6 months, I've become more relaxed, less egotistical, and just it's been great. It's been great. So I have a follow-up question for that. Um, the stra- the strategies that you used to overcome the addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not exactly clear. You can't just stop and put down the controller or the keyboard or whatever you're using. So how did you do it? What was your plan? How did you set out in stone that you wanted to take yourself away from the computer and actually experience life instead?
I think if you want a short answer, it's 3 breakups. That's basically what my life. Looking back at it, the first breakup was a woman I wasn't actually even in a relationship with. You might remember her as Berry, right? She was around,
Mhm.
sort of. We had like a very casual thing going on, but when she, quote unquote, broke up with me, that was when I discovered the love for trance music. That was when I started streaming a lot over the course of that winter, and that's when I got my Twitch partnership. So that first breakup was the thing that I needed to push me into the world of content creation, right? And that's when I realized that this was something I really needed in my life. I didn't know at the time that I could leave gaming aside, but still leave the content, like be a content creator, but you don't have to be a gamer. And it wasn't until the second relationship, which happened shortly after this situation with the Jewel, and me really realizing that perhaps I didn't want to do that. Because I stayed around. I would still play the game casually. I would still upload content. I was starting to upload videos that were a little bit more controversial. I was tapping into like that inner kind of chaotic child and just slamming Gaijin for their bad practices, and maybe even going on a bit of a witch hunt. But I didn't really care. It was sort of my I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like I had to get it out there. It was like energy that I had to release into the world. But at the time, I had started road cycling and being in a relationship for the first time in my life. Probably the effect of having sex for the first time sort of takes away from the need to be on a computer game. And then when she broke up with me, that's when I sort of spiraled out of control again. And it was another one of those moments where you're sitting in the pit and you're looking out there like, fuck, what do I want to do in life? And that's when I went all out into just road bike, just 1,000 kilometers in January, 1,000 kilometers in February, 2,000 kilometers in March. And when I got to the end of the year, and that's when the How My Gaming Addiction Saved My Life video came out, that's when I sort of realized the numbers, how many hours I had really spent in the game, how much better of a person I could have been, how much more successful I could have been if I'd put that energy, elsewhere. And then the third turning point was last year when I made the decision to break up with somebody that I was, head over heels for, really, sort of saw myself having a family with them. And it was a weird position because looking back at it, obviously there was a big red button. You almost want to press it and say, okay, let's go back in time. Let's fix it. Let's stay in the relationship. But I was living a life that wasn't fair to this person. It wasn't fair to myself even, because it was neglecting all the aspects of my life that I worked so hard for. The English I worked so hard to develop, the friendships I worked so hard for, the skill sets that I developed throughout the years of gaming and content creation, to then spend it in a commercial kitchen. I didn't see the point. It was like I could only ever become so good in that environment, and I would have never reached my peak potential. And I knew that I had to make a change, and I felt something over the course of that evening when I made the choice. And it's weird because yes, to a certain degree, maybe I am regretful of having made the decision, of having made certain choices, but sitting here today, sitting with the knowledge I've got, with the access of a mindset, and realizing how important it is to try to share this, try to put this forward, so that other young men and hell even older guys, because you never know, you're gonna have a bad day, a bad week, a bad month. It's gonna happen, and it's all about how you react to it and how you're able to sort of conquer those situations.
Yeah, 100%. And that's funny enough, the exact same thing that happened to me. Just realizing that actually the amount of time that I'm sinking
Mm.
into nothing and just into an endless pit of just time wasting, I realized I could do a lot more too. And I started to go out more, started to see my mates more, but I didn't get the satisfaction. It wasn't what I want. It's not what I wanted to do. So that's when I started to learn how to invest, and that was really the sort of new game for me. I used to come home
Mm.
excited, ready to learn something new, and if anyone wanted any advice, instead of playing a game, try to learn a skill, because you'll soon pick up that life is a game. You're always looking to do better, and you've just got to level up your XP and focus on yourself. And even with the gym, the amount of hours I've put into the gym, it's so much more beneficial. I could be going home, sitting there after a shower and just doing nothing, scroll. Whereas actually I could spend an hour and a half in the gym, and within the sort of last 6 months, I've seen some incredible improvements in myself, and it's scary what it can actually do when you
Mm.
put more time into yourself than into something that isn't gonna actually pay anything back. It's a complete waste of time. And now I see life as, what am I gonna do to get that time back? Putting effort into the gym, am I gonna see that time back? Well, yes, because I'm gonna be physically more appealing. If I go into a meeting, or say if I wanted a job interview, I don't, but whatever. The fact that I'm big shows that I've got a lot of discipline,
Mm.
shows that I'm motivated to do the right things, that I can do the right things, and instantly you appear like you're so much better off than everyone else. And no offense to anyone who's slightly overweight, when an employer were to look at you, everybody judges the book by
Mm.
the front cover.
Yes.
Everybody. And it's a lie that people say, no, you shouldn't do that. No, actually, it happens. There's no bullshitting around it. It does happen. And to see a fat man and a man who is looking like a complete Greek god, you're going to have so much more respect for the man who's worked hard, for the man who has crafted his body, over the man who's just sat there and eaten lots of junk food. He doesn't really care about himself.
Mm.
So is he actually going to care about what he wants to do to improve the company? Because that's all it is. The employer wants someone who can earn the money, who can progress the company further. And it may be sort of an uncomfortable fact to realise, but it's definitely something that is apparent and that I've seen sort of in my life. So yeah, just you've you've got to find the edge in life. You've got to find that edge. And if you're good at something, and I can throw this back to sort of War Thunder and playing
Mm.
games, if you're a turned fighter, you aren't gonna play with an energy fighter, or it's I completely forgotten how everything works now, but play with what you know. If you're good at one thing, focus on it and
Yep.
just excel at it. Just and once you realize what you are good at, once you realize what your passion is,
Mm.
everything becomes easy. Everything becomes to the point where you haven't actually got to think, you just do. And with, if you've got the ability just to do and not to sit there and procrastinate and sit on your phone, you get so much done. You get so much more work done, and you look back at the time that you've spent. You've spent 3, 4, 5 hours learning a skill when actually it only seems like an hour. Christ, I could go on FIFA or something and spend 5 hours. I'll come
Mm.
off that feeling like I haven't done anything. Whereas I walk away from my desk after learning 5 hours of a brand new skill, and I feel like I want to go again. I feel like I could sit there and go another 10, 15 hours
Mm.
because that's that's the that's the real dopamine that you want. You don't want the fake dopamine. You don't want to lie to yourself. You want to tell yourself the truth, and once you start telling yourself the truth, that's when you can really start to grow as a person. Um, so, in terms of recognizing an addiction, where do you think you should start? Because personally, I don't really know. I have the ability to recognize something instantly and instantly make a change,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that my head and my mind is strong enough that if I say that I want to do something or not, or to stop doing something, that I can instantly doing it. I can instantly do it. Sorry. So how would you recognize an addiction?
Yeah, I realize now I didn't fully answer the previous question you had, which was how did you deal with like what kind of tactics I used. I didn't use
Okay, that's
any.
fine.
My tactic was essentially let's use the time I used to spend gaming on the bike, and then it's like let's use the time that we're going to use gaming that you were now using to ride bikes to now actually do something which will help you secure a better future for yourself, like a business or if this is learning programming for somebody, that could be a way out of it. If this is learning how to, I don't know, talk to women, like you said, putting the time into yourself. But to recognize an addiction, I mean, I think perhaps what people do is when you say that you can, if I want to get rid of an addiction, I'll just do it. That's a good mindset to have because it means that you believe that you can be done. But a lot of the times we're like, yeah, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can get rid of, an addiction that I've got. But there's a lot of things that you do. Something that I used to do, and this perhaps wasn't an addiction as much as it was a habit. And as soon as you say that, you might realize, wait a minute, isn't an addiction just a different sort of habit? Like if you were to wake up today and have a, small bottle of Coke or a Monster or a Red Bull, and you did it the day after and the day after and the day after, did that for a month, you now have a habit of drinking sugar every time you wake up, which is essentially an addiction. And so I think what it is about creating positive habits. I don't think an addiction inherently is a bad thing. And humanity has made this thing where we talk about stuff that's bad. You're not supposed to do these things. We're all about polarizing. You take Jordan Peterson bad, Andrew Tate bad, Joe Rogan bad, this guy Trump bad. It's all sort of like firing shots at just generally saying that something is bad. I'm against Coca-Cola now because I've realized how much sugar is in it. But dude, if I come back from a bike ride and I'm completely empty and I'm hallucinating at that point, like I want that Coke. Like I'll give you my left nutsack for that Coke because I desperately need it to survive. And so it's not inherently bad. I think the addiction to be recognized has to be recognized as a habit and then try to figure out why it is that you do those things. Like one of the things I do is I'll chafe the skin around my thumbs. Right. Let's as we're talking, I'll just be picking it. It's like it takes a certain amount of mental energy to just figure out that you're doing it and then stop in the moment and then just I don't know, sometimes I'll do what Tate does. Do like the little hand thing or like just to force yourself to stand freaking still and not chafe it. Or people will bite their lip or they'll bite their nails. These are little things and they're force of habits, which essentially are addictions. And so notice that you're doing it and then figure out, maybe a fidget spinner, dude. Maybe that's not such a bad idea after all, because you're not doing anything negative with it. I remember what I used to do is I used to take a Rubik's Cube with me because I'm a bit of a hyperactive person. So, we'll have a conversation. In the meantime, I'll be solving a Rubik's Cube. Now, obviously, for you, that might be really annoying because you're like, this dude is not listening to me. He's focused on doing the Rubik's Cube. But realistically, for me, that might be the distraction that I require to be able to have more focus in actually being able to listen to you because I'm a multitasker, because I like doing several things at the same time. So people are different, but ultimately, I think what you can do is if you understand that you have a habit and you say, okay, this might be an addiction, this could be a bad habit, just slowly start replacing it with a better habit. So it's, maybe you crave McDonald's today. Good. Is there something that you could prepare at home that would be healthy, or not as destructive as McDonald's is for your health, that you could treat yourself to, and then just do that instead, and it will replace it. Sooner than later, you start replacing these habits, and then eventually there comes a point where you'll look at an old habit. For me, that might be gaming today, because I actually would have to force myself to go and play a video game today. I just don't feel the need for it. And that's now a moment where I can say I'm free from it. I feel completely free. I don't feel the need to consume it. And I hope that in a couple of months I'll have the same thing happen with sugary beverages, even though obviously as a cyclist it's hard to remove them completely, but just little things. In 2 years I want to look at my fingers and say, oh wow, I remember when I used to chafe the skin around them. Remember when I used to bite my lips. Remember when I used to do this or do that. That's the goal. I think when you reach that point, you reach a certain level of mental superiority over yourself, where you can just be happy because you've done something that most other people probably convince themselves cannot be done. And if you keep convincing yourself something can't be done, then you're on a great route to ruin, because then you'll keep paying for women's OnlyFans, you'll keep wanking to porn, you'll keep eating shit food, you'll keep feeling like shit, you'll sleep like shit, you'll perform like shit, and overall I think that just makes you a piece of shit, right? Not in the conventional sense of you're a dickhead to everybody, but in the conventional sense that you're a dickhead to yourself. I think that's the worst place to start. So, yeah, I think...
Spot on there. Absolutely spot on, and especially the last bit. You are a complete dickhead to yourself. If you're unable to do these things and actually realize that what you're doing is no good to yourself, it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit any other people around you. You aren't providing value, and the energy that you give off, it's just not there. No one wants to know. No one wants to care. Like, why would I speak to someone who's low energy, who doesn't want, who's not present, in the moment? And I've started to look into sort of energy and frequency towards other people, and there was a really, really interesting comment that I heard, and it was, you can't see radio waves, you can't see sound waves, you can't see light, but what else is there? What else is there that we don't actually know about? And I definitely feel that now I've started to make more improvement, that my energy has become greater, and I'm starting to attract different people in my life, people with the same amount of energy. I'm not compatible with people who have less energy than me. We don't get on, and that's that works for people above as well. You can't, you cannot get on with the people above you, and I definitely found that in my life, that I was sort of in a really weird energy state. I wanted to do well, but I wasn't quite there. I wasn't ready to interact with people, and that's definitely something that people should look into. Just the energy and frequency, and seeing actually what could be out there, and because we probably won't know in our lifetime.
No,
We
did you notice
probably
the
won't
change,
understand.
where the way I look at it in the old days when I used to hang around, like if you threw me into a room full of random people, I would be very insecure, I'd be very awkward, and I'd try my best to sort of appeal to everyone. Whereas now, I'll enter the room, and the first thing that go through my mind is like, okay, who's the biggest motherfucker in this room? Who's the guy who's essentially in charge if shit breaks loose? And who are the people that I can match energy with? Because I'll immediately start hanging out with them, and I won't even pay much of an attention to the other bits. And I'll leave those people to work a little bit harder to get my attention. I've started doing the same thing with dating. I was doing quite a lot of Tinder and Bumble dates just to figure out, how it is that we interact, how it is that men and women are different, why we're different, why it's good that we're different. And I realized there were women that I just did not get along with. And instead of trying or forcing it, or, trying to fake your way through something, just like, no, thanks, look, it's not working out, but, thanks for your time, and see you some other. Yeah, maybe not. And I think it's better that, you're a bit more direct with individuals, because like you said, you're going to start seeing the pattern develop. It's like people above you, people below you, and you'll realize that, you can really select and be selective, but in a primal way. Not in the sense that people have to come to you with a CV and you have to look at their, like a stat card in a video game. You just you instantly know. You just feel it. It's like, okay, this guy we're going to get along with. This dude I can go to hit the gym with. This guy's going to be real great fun to be in the same office with. That dude's going to be amazing to go drinking with. This guy's got a lot of knowledge. Wow, that dude's like, he's just got psychic powers or whatever. You'll be able to really read people better by just being comfortable, first of all, with yourself. Not being a cockhead to yourself, like we said. And yeah, sometimes you'll be a dick to others. I don't know. I mean, I think we live in a society where it's all, you have to paint it now. You have to be like, very careful and nitpicky and selective with words and pronouns and this and that. And I realized that life is a load easier if you're just actually being yourself, like just ruthlessly and ambitiously and just not really caring. Not that I'm going to the extent of hurting people or being mean to them, but just being honest. Mainly being honest to myself, because if there's things I'm not interested in, then why would I spend my time with somebody, that I'm not compatible with? It's not fair to them either. So
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no point wasting your time. And if you are going to waste your time, do you value yourself that much, or do you really care? It's definitely something that I've been looking into as well. Just the optimization of what I do from a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that's some really really good points there, which sort of brings me on to like a follow-on question. Now you got 30 seconds. You got
30
30
seconds.
seconds to answer this. You got
Shit.
30 seconds. Okay, so there's a lot of pressure.
Okay.
What advice do you have for an individual who is struggling to define and pursue their own future goals and purpose?
To somebody who's lost, essentially.
Essentially.
First question I'd ask myself is, what am I good at? Second question I'd ask myself is, what do I want to become or be or do? And the third question I'd ask myself is, why aren't you doing it? I think it's as simple as that. That's what I did last year. I took out a notebook and I just wrote down, what am I good at? And on the top of that list was English. And I realized, okay, so I'm looking for a job that works with English. And lo and behold, here I am, and I enjoy the job.
Spot on. So your final question, or that you were gonna ask yourself, why haven't you started?
Mm-hmm.
How would you find the motivation or the discipline to actually make that change? Because it's definitely a really hard step. Say if you're completely by yourself, no one, you're on your own.
I mean,
how can someone manipulate a bad situation into a really good positive one?
I was talking to the friend yesterday exactly about something similar. He said that he's a huge fan of trauma. He was describing this one scene where his mother basically beat the living crap out of him for 30 minutes because he stole a Yu-Gi-Oh card when he was little. And he's of the opinion, and I actually have to completely agree with him, that trauma, some type of shit from your past, will be a pretty painful reminder of how things can be. And I think the modern day human is built in the sense, and we're brought up in a way that we try not to fail too much. It's sort of perceived that failure is really bad, because if you fail on an exam, you're a loser. And if you can't, convert a girl to a girlfriend, then you're a loser. And we keep being sold this idea that failing is inherently bad, where it could actually be perceived that it's the greatest thing in the world. Because as soon as you fail, you realize, like, take a Formula One race, or any racing sport ever. How do you know how fast you can go into a corner? You have to fail. Eventually, you're going to have to go so fast and turn in so strongly that, you're either going to understeer or oversteer, the car's going to spin out of control, you're going to crash. And that's when you're going to be like, okay, so I found the limits, and you have to find your own limits as a person. I'm a bit of a joker as well, but how do you find the motivation? It's okay, you wake up in the morning. How do you get to the point where you're like, okay, I want to get up and do stuff? Imagine if every morning you woke up, there was a 200-pound gorilla that came into your room, and if you didn't, immediately start doing push-ups, he'd just start slamming you into your nuts. If that happened every morning, eventually you'd just be like, as soon as the alarm went off, you'd already be doing push-ups. Maybe you'd be doing push-ups before the alarm even went off, because there would be the risk, and you'd know, if I'm not doing this every morning at this and this time, there'll be a 200-pound gorilla smashing the living crap out of my jewels. And that's the sort of motivation I think we need. We have to be afraid of stuff. We have to be afraid of not failing, but failing because we haven't taken action. It's. I think that's a great way to cover this is by saying that rejection is better than regret. Obviously it's a thing used in dating environment, but how many times, and this goes to all men out there, how many times have you been in a situation where you were in a social spot or in a classroom or whatever, and there was a really cute girl, and you're like, oh, this girl is so beautiful, and so like, maybe I should say this, and you start making plans in your head, and you're envisioning marriage with her and how you're having kids, and you're going to Bali and you're surfing, and before you know it, you're driving home. You haven't got her number, you don't know her name, you're never going to see her again, and there's that sinking feeling of regret. What if that was the love of your life? And then you go to bed and you wake up in the next morning, and I think you're taking some of that regret with you. And we do that with so many opportunities. That's why it goes back to when you said talk to people, network, meet. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to say the wrong thing. Don't be afraid to maybe get punched in the face. I don't know. But like the way I would approach it is, think about it. How are you going to feel in 1 minute, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, if you do or don't do this? How will it feel like? Will it feel like a smart decision because you didn't make the move? Or will it feel like the biggest regret of your life? Because that could have been the dream job, the dream girl, the dream opportunity, winning something, becoming a champion, dominating yourself. And sometimes it could be as simple as just doing 1 push-up. Maybe that's what people should start with. Maybe start today with 1 push-up, because all you need is a floor in your fat body to start it with. And you'll make 1 push-up, and you'll do another one tomorrow, and you'll do another, the week after that, and sooner or later you'll do 2 push-ups, and 5, and 10, and 20, and then you'll look back and you'll think, I didn't think this was possible. And then you realize how many other things are not possible. And it's, like you said about the radio waves and the sound waves, it's how much of this stuff that, let's be realistic. I mean, I'm an idiot. Like, I know I'm an idiot, and yet I understand seemingly so much more than some people do. But the knowledge of being dumb about so much that goes on in the world. I live in this weird exoskeleton, veins that are pushing blood throughout, and arteries and muscles and neurons and all that. I know nothing of it. I'm reading the book on why we sleep, and he's talking about the amygdala and the hippocampus and the brain. I'm like, it makes my brain just shut off. But at the same time, I could recite the battle ratings in a video game from 5 years ago, and I think that is so stupid. That there is knowledge in a book that's realistic, that you live in a body that I know nothing about. Yet there's some pixels on the screen that have no importance, no value, no monetary, no skill set, and yet we just we go hard into them. You'll have guys that can count the top 50 porn stars on Pornhub, but he's not going to be able to name the last 6 presidents. And I think that's the society we live in, and it's fucked up.
Yeah, people have got their priorities completely mixed up. Completely mixed up. There's so much more information out there. And in fairness, there's so much information that's available to any one person that you cannot physically retain it all. That's the scary part. There's always stuff that you just won't know. You don't know why all this happens, and you won't ever know why something happens if you focus too. It's honestly so scary that we have 2, 3, 4, 5,000 years worth of information that you can actually just read. You can just search it up. You can search it up online, and
Mm.
all of a sudden it is in front of you. And I think that it stems down from just basic evolution now. Because if you wanted something back in the day, you had to actually go look for it. You had to hunt for it.
Mm.
If you wanted food back in the day, you had to hunt. You had to kill a tiger, a bear, whatever. If you wanted information, you had to actually go down to the library. You had to put in effort to receive. And now, the fact that you can just look on your phone and you can get that same hit of dopamine
Mm.
for just doing nothing. You haven't done anything. You've spent 15 seconds putting keys into a search engine, and now you've just had the same hit of dopamine as if you've just gone to the library, picked up a book, and actually looked for it, killed a tiger. I think that's wrong. And I think people are being numbed down so much that they don't actually understand what they can do. They don't get that there's an unlimited potential for anyone in this day and age. And it's quite sad to see.
God, I'm realizing now how
But
much of a shortcut it is. You know, you have a fat dude who could never run or hunt for something, and he just goes into a supermarket and grabs the fattest piece of pork. That's such a shortcut.
Mhm.
That could never happen in real life because nature wouldn't allow for it. But we've created well, I think we create shortcuts for idiocracy, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. And back in the day, if you were fat, if you were like big, that was seen as a sign of wealth
Mm-hmm.
because you aren't necessarily thinking of the amount of food that you're eating. You're thinking of the time, the effort, the the danger, the cost of danger, the fact that people have died
Mm-hmm.
to get this man food. This man has eaten a lot of food, and a lot of people have died for his cause. He has power. People will die for him. People will die for a meal to be placed in front of him that he can easily consume. And everything's changed. Everything has completely changed. I think it's wrong. We won't ever go back to them times ever again because people are always looking for convenience. And you can go back even like 20 years, especially in my trade. So back in the day, you had to build everything by hand. There was no cheating. You couldn't do it. Whereas now you can cheat. You can put up a pole on the side of a house and you can run a line, and all of a sudden, you aren't thinking, you're just doing. And it takes away from the skill, it takes away from the meaning. And trades with everything that going on, the convenience, the tools that make everything convenient, the tools that makes you faster. Yeah, congratulations, you can get the job done, but over time it becomes the norm, and you don't actually see the benefit of doing things the slower way. You're
Mm-hmm.
getting paid the same now, and the value in it is just being removed. There's no point for a young man to go out and be a plumber anymore. There's no point for a man to be an electrician, a bricklayer, and build houses and do the hard stuff that the men do currently because it's not an easy job. You're out there in the cold, you're out there in the winter, you're in the mud, you're dealing with people who haven't got a clue what they're doing, and it's a tough job to be in. But there's no point doing it. There's no there's there's no value in it. Society don't look up at them people anymore because 100 years ago, oh, he's a bricklayer. He has respect. He goes to work. He builds houses. He builds houses for me, someone who doesn't know what, you know, how to lay a brick. He can go out. He can build this amazing structure. He can build all of this amazing engineering. And now there's nothing to it. There is nothing to it. People would rather see an OnlyFans girl and empower her for selling her body for £3 to some bloke who has low testosterone and shit over a bloke who's actually got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, who's got to drive an hour to work, who puts on his hard hat, who puts on his high vis and boots, and he grafts from 7 o'clock up to mostly 4 or 5 o'clock. He comes home, he's dead, he is knackered. But the next day he gets up anyway and he does the same thing. to me, that is what people should be looking at. That is the sort of men that you want in society, not the ones who go around looking for convenience. You want the men that want the hard route. Even at the gym, I can go to the gym and I can look at the skinniest guy in there and I can think, yes, you are on the right path. You have chosen to do the hard shit instead of staying at home and not doing anything at all. And that you can have respect for. And then you go up the ladder and you see the people get big and big and big, and you think you've been down this path, this dark path, for so long. You've seen the fruits that have blossomed off this path that you've grown into, and that to me deserves respect. I definitely think that in this world we need to look at what's important to us, what brings us value as a society, and we need to reweigh everything. We just need to rebalance where things are in life, and just have almost a bit of a reset. And it was quite interesting. So our prime minister this
Mm.
week or last week, he mentioned that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. Now it's really, really, like, it shouldn't be a topic that goes on forever. But you just look on Twitter on Twitter, and there is it's a complete war zone, of two sides where they think it's true and the other side think it's false. Now, to me, I'm sitting there and I have my own opinions, but I'm sitting, even if I do have a bias towards one side, I'm not going to waste my energy arguing over something as petty as that,
Mm.
because to me, it has no value. Arguing with someone who doesn't believe in my values is just it's pointless. And I have to thank Dad for that, because I was really, really, like, passionate about change and making something happen. Now nothing's going to happen. It doesn't matter. And if it doesn't matter, why waste the effort? Why
Mm.
waste the energy? Focus on yourself. Focus on building yourself, and your brand and how you portray yourself, and you will attract the right people. You will attract the world that you want to live in. If you're stupid, you're gonna attract stupid people. That's just nature. That's how it is. If you're weak, you a strong animal isn't going to partner up with a weak animal,
Yeah.
because the strong animal doesn't see the point in it. And the same for humans as well. Build up your relationships. Build up the people that you know, and build yourself the value. Build a world that you want to live in. It doesn't matter if there's OnlyFans sluts selling their body. It doesn't matter if there's a high value man working in a trade. If these people are finding value from where they are, just just let let them get on with it.
Mm.
But I would have to bias the man who goes out and grasps, because I've seen it. I've seen it in person, and I've got a very close friend who does that, and he provides for his son, and that you just have so much respect for.
Mm.
You look at that bloke and you think, yes, yeah, you are on it. You have value. I can respect you, and you want to spend time with them because their life is interesting. Whereas someone who doesn't care about what they're doing, someone who doesn't give a shit, I'm sorry, I can't hang around with you. It's
Mm.
just something that my brain is incapable of doing.
Do you think there's a solution to not just the OnlyFans, but like a giant filter for the internet? You know, I once had this hope that if I went on Reddit, I could filter out all the memes. Just press one big meme button, and it just, you know, for the next 30 minutes, the only thing I want to consume is like really good, high quality content. And I find it painful that the internet, for as big and huge and vast and, you know, intelligent as it is, we don't have an option to really efficiently filter through all the bullshit. Because I think, you know, over the
Yeah.
past few years, I've stopped using, like, I don't use Twitter or X anymore. Even though I think there's a benefit to it being now under the, you know, the hands of Elon Musk and being a little bit more free, and you can actually say certain things without just disappearing. But when I open it, it's just a spam of stuff I don't care about. And so I would have to really go through and filter to find that 1 or 3 posts from the handful of people that actually provide what I consider to be value to me. I feel like as smart as the AI is, I think it has been programmed in the sense to keep providing, like we said before, convenience. And it really reminds me of the gaming, and perhaps why it's so powerful and why I recommend people get out of the gaming world so much is because once you realize the correlation between how psychologically games will get you addicted, you'll start seeing the same pattern when it comes to sugar. You'll start seeing it with porn. You'll start seeing it with OnlyFans, all these little bits. And it makes it so much easier to just say no. Like, nah, I've seen this shit before. I'm not doing it again. And to me, I think it's this experience. You were just talking about, the trade. Having worked in the kitchen, I consider that to be one of those trades. It's like, you can think less of these people. I can look at a garbage man and think, yeah, I wouldn't need him. But I was actually just listening to it. There was a clip from a podcast. There was a protest done in New York where garbage people went on a strike. And people were thinking, garbage man, like, who cares? And I think within 2 or 3 days, it was just chaos. It was complete and utter chaos. And then the same thing happened with the bankers. And the bankers went on strike for months, like, no one gave a shit. It's just the reality that there are certain things we absolutely need. You're going to have to eat food. You're going to have to go and have somebody who's going to work in a grocery store, somebody who's going to farm the food for you, somebody who's going to truck the food to your grocery store, somebody who's going to cook the food for you in a restaurant, who's going to serve the drinks and the food that you want to have. All of those are core people that we require. And having been there, I have respect for those people within the trade. I would love to see them get paid more, get proper compensation for their work. But until times change, until we have a system put into place where that's actually going to start happening, then for people like you and for me who have, I guess, seen over the fence, who have seen through the matrix, who have seen the opportunity that arises, that we're going to do our best to find an alternate way through this. But obviously, if I have the option to, tip a cook, even if it's just to a shot of a spirit drink, so I can, lighten up the rest of his workday, then that's something I'm gonna strive to do. And I can only hope that the management of these places get better, that the system goes and alters. But if it doesn't, then people are going to continue to leave. I don't know how it is in Britain, but Slovenia is people are leaving. It's like, are you going to be, let's say, a doctor here and get paid, way less than a programmer who's 16 and just came out of high school because he doesn't really care, and he's got a remote job. He doesn't have to wear a mask. He doesn't have to, take care of people's, shitloads of different diseases. Mm-hmm. Then they just leave. They're going to go to better paying countries. They'll go abroad, and then they won't come back. And you're losing culture. You're losing people. You're losing the spirit of being in a country in the first place. And I don't know. It's a weird thing because we've got, the world's become this globalized village. Everybody knows each other. Obviously, you're in England now. I'm in Slovenia. We're talking on Discord and having a podcast, and this wasn't possible 20, 30 years ago. And even 100, 150 years ago, we wouldn't even really have an opportunity to, like, what, you're going to sit in a carriage somewhere with a horse and travel for 10 days to get there, and swimming over the channel, and like, life was so much different. And I think we take it for granted way too much. So if I can wrap back when you said the thing about depression and anxiety and it was addictions mostly, I try to remind myself every day that the fact that you and I are sitting here having this conversation as a calculation of statistical chance of this actually happening, of me and you being alive, is basically zero. And I think that, to me, is so beautiful that whenever I have a bad moment, I just think to myself, dude, you were really, really, unlikely to ever experience this ever again. That you were that one sperm cell that was the fastest swimmer, and that you didn't, die from some freak accident in a car, and you weren't in a plane crash when you traveled to Greece 15 times, and this didn't happen, that didn't happen. You were lucky to be here. So just be happy and live, and don't complain, because most people don't get this far. Most people don't have this luxury. 200 years ago, people at the age that you and I are today would have been dead. And so
Mhm.
it's like, and when we're panicking because it's like people go, oh no, I'm only, I haven't done all this stuff, and I haven't got a Bugatti yet, and I haven't, dude, take it the fuck easy. Like, you should cherish just the fact that you're alive, and that you're moving day through day and through day, and you have the opportunity to have kids and put them into the world. And I find it freaky because I realized this. It was actually my first relationship. I was talking to the girl, and she said, I don't want to have kids. She said, I don't want to bring people into this nasty world. And back then, my brain was like, I understand. Okay, so this world is nasty, and we've got global warming, and there's war happening, and this and that. And then I think, but if we don't have kids, then what are we doing as humanity? Like, isn't this the core product? Is that I pick the best available partner for me, I become the best available partner, and then I make sure that my offspring has the opportunity, the knowledge base, the drive to do something great, so that we can keep going forward, so that we can keep creating, so that we can actually go to Mars, so we can actually go back to the moon, so we can do amazing shit and not just disappear. Because chances are we are going to disappear anyway, just because nature is brutal. Like, wouldn't it be nice to to just have humanity as, leave something beautiful behind?
Yep, 100% agree. 100% agree. It's life's too short. Life is too short. Work hard, do your absolute best, but understand that actually you are in a pretty good position where you are. And even if you aren't in a good position, even if you aren't in a good position, you can get better. There's
Mm.
always options and opportunities to get better. You just got to recognize them. But it's definitely a wake up call once you become aware that there's more to life than what you actually think, what you've been sold. And for me, at least, I don't like the idea of being constantly in the same place, being constantly going to work, going, coming back, doing the same thing every day for the next 40 years. Obviously, there'll be sort of slight tweaks. Perhaps in 10 years, I'll have kids. I'll come back from work, looking after the kids or whatever. But to me, that all seems the same. And I was having a conversation with my granddad a couple months ago, and in fact, I phoned him up and I said, "Thank you for the foundation that you've given me to do the things that I do." And the conversation went something like this: when he was growing up, he was born in 1942, so he was a war child. And so the first 3 years, obviously, he didn't really have much of a clue what was going on in life. And his family, my great granddad, they weren't the richest. They're pretty poor. So they lived on a road that's just perhaps like 5-10 minutes away from mine. And it's currently it's a bit of a shithole. Like, that's where the chavvy kids. That's where the poorer people stay. And he managed to get out of that environment and move into, at the time, a new build, which is just down the road. And he brought that for £5,000, which obviously back in the day was a lot of money, but now it seems like nothing. And he had a really good foundation. He had enough money so he could eat meat every day. He went on sort of Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays to play football. He was paid for playing football, so that also gave him another sort of income source. And he done well. He done really well for himself. And then there was Dad, who got his house. He moved out. I think it was like 2021, and he moved into a bit of a ghetto, but which it was a better class place than what my granddad had originally grew up in, but I would still consider it a bit of a ghetto. And he moved into the place here. He moved into this house, and it was a massive challenge to pay for. I know he had some issues in 2008 when the financial crisis hit. And especially now, and in sort of these days, if it was anything like it was in 2008, what I'm experiencing now, fucking fair play to him. Because it is hard. It must have been hard to raise a fucking family. You've got a child who's about to hit double figures. Um, it brought a new car, relatively new car at that point. It's it, the amount of shit that he had to put himself through to give me the bare fucking minimum to start. Like I would be disrespecting so many generations of my family if I didn't put in as much work as what they did. And physically, I just cannot do it. They've given me such a foundation to live off. I'm sitting here with 3 monitors in front of me, a TV up here. I'm working on a laptop, and on a laptop, I've placed my iPhone to record my own footage. I have a £400 GoPro sitting next to me. I have a £120 like camera there that I used 10 years ago for school. Like, I am not in a bad place,
Mm.
and you've got to appreciate that this has only come from hard work. If I wanted to be lazy, I wouldn't have anything in front of me. Because I have worked hard since 2016, since I left school, I've been able to buy the monitors. Inherently, it was for gaming, but because I have the setup already, I can use what I've got. I have such a great foundation that I have unintentionally built myself that I'm able to do this at a high quality. I have a Blue Yeti microphone. I'm speaking into one of the best and cheapest, well, the best value that money can buy, and I am able to produce some quality content through the things that I've worked hard for, and that gives me such a head start. It gives me an edge that I could only be thankful for. If I was recording this off a iPhone 7, the quality wouldn't be great, the sound wouldn't be great, the lighting wouldn't be great. So all this hard work that I've given myself has given me a platform for myself to build off. So what's the limitations? How far can I grow myself? How far can I make? How big of a foundation can I build
Mm.
so that my child can take on my own legacy? Because that's ultimately what I want to do. That he could possibly have, so he can go and do the things in life that he wants. Because life will change, and it that is one thing that I'm really looking forward to, having kids and growing my own little personality,
Mm.
teaching him the things that I've learned and the mistakes that he should avoid, and just seeing what he could become, he or she could become, and that to me brings so much pride. And just it's just even going off topic a little bit. 5 years ago, I wouldn't have ever thought that
Mm.
I'd want a kid by 23. Now, just everything's changed. Everything has changed
Yeah.
completely, and I'm so thankful for the opportunities that I've got. And I'm thankful for the ability that I'm able to look at myself in the mirror and think, okay, I need to analyze every single part of my life. So that's exactly what I did. I focused on myself. I focused on talking to people, focused on my speech because I've got a slight stutter, which has improved tenfold since 2 years ago. Like, I'm so proud of how far I've got by just talking to people.
Mm.
The absolute basics of human life, the ability to communicate,
Yeah.
and to me that's incredible. Like,
Because even just
it's
of the last time we spoke,
oh
you've improved massively, and it's so good. Because I know
I
at
feel
some point we're gonna have a conversation, and we're both gonna be like, "Wait a minute, you used to stutter? Like, when was that ever a thing?" But that's how it
yeah
goes. You know, as the whole day by day, inch by inch, and eventually you've got something massive built, and grain by grain, you've got yourself a sandcastle, and you might not realize it, but when it starts to accumulate, I keep thinking of is it Warren Buffett? His income was basically, it just exponentially got bigger, because of compound interest, and I think something about that resonates in reality for all of the things, all skill sets. I've got a question, because when you were talking about having a kid, and I think I know what you're going to say. You did say he or she, but is there a preference for
100%, 100%, man. I want a boy. 100%. I want a boy.
Yeah.
I think any bloke would want a boy.
Mm.
Like there's no doubt on that. I would absolutely love a boy. If it's a girl, I'm not going to send her off to some fucking orphanage. So
Yeah.
that's
Not going to pull
horrible,
what
but-
is it? In the Dictator, he says, "Is it a boy or an abortion?"
Yeah, exactly that. I'm not that heartless, not yet. So yes, the way that I've thought of it, I haven't really given it much thought, but the boy I would like to be working and understanding his values from a very young age, and the woman I would like to grow, and she would sort of make herself the best option for a bloke. Now, giving your daughter away to another bloke is probably quite a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where I've actually learnt that the daughter will look for a male that is very similar to her own father. And if that bloke is not better or the father, it's just not going to go. So my responsibility is become as best as I fucking can in order so my daughter naturally picks the best option for her. Because I don't want her going around sleeping about. I want her to be successful. I want her to do well for herself and to have the confidence that, to be honest, a lot of women haven't got these days. There's a lot of women who are very anxious about themselves.
Yes.
I wouldn't want that. I would not want my child to come home and think, "Oh, I'm not beautiful. I'm not." No, you are. Like, you're an offspring of me. You are. So,
Cocky
so,
bastard.
so that's it. But in order to do that, you've got to find an exceptional woman. And you have my standards are so high, but in order for me to go for them standards, I need to be the absolute best. I need to be the best version of myself. I can't be a sack of shit and expect a 11 out of 10. It's not how it works. So that's definitely something that I need to be conscious and aware of, and especially my ex, I would definitely agree that she would be sort of up there, because she was just with it. She was an app. Her cooking was the best cooking I've ever had in my life. Like that was the shit. And when I lost that, I was like, fuck. I've got to find someone better than you at cooking. It's just not happening. Fuck's sake. So yeah, trying to find that person is definitely going to be hard. But I definitely think with me growing and my energy radiating more, the possibilities are endless.
No, the thing about women, and cooking and characteristics, and you realize it goes beyond just physical attributes. Obviously, you want a woman to be beautiful and, it's a nice ass and tits or whatever, if you're going to go that direction. But ultimately, yeah, you realize you want a woman who knows that can be a nurturing individual, that can take care of your kids, of you. And I think it's a tough ask nowadays, because, if we go back to the OnlyFans woman, I don't think she's cooking. She's not interested in that. More and more women are going into careers, they're deciding to delay their having a child phase to later in their 30s, which I think is a mistake because they're sacrificing, the highest peak of their fertility. They're sacrificing the time of their life when they have the most energy, and perhaps they're sacrificing something which is a male life standard. I think, men, we thrive from having a problem, we thrive from finding a solution, we thrive from being the absolute best, in conquering. And you look at throughout history, you're going to find that men did pretty much most of the most incredible things, but also most of the most fucked up things. Whereas women, they like being in the middle, they like being neutral, they like being the supportive role, and unfortunately they also do and have in the past been the victims for most of the stuff that went on because they are the weaker sex physically. And I think this search within a lot of women to be hardcore careerists can unfortunately flip their life upside down. For a lot of women it works, but it doesn't mean it's going to work for the majority. And I think some women get trapped in this realm of going through life too far focused for work, and then when it comes time to have a kid, when it comes time to find the right guy, they're just not there anymore. And as a man, I don't try to figure out the solution too much. I just try to figure out, like, is there a partner for me that's going to just make me feel like, wow, this is it. Like, I'm totally happy having a kid with this woman and being comfortable. And like you said, you don't really know until you know, but with your ex, it could have been just the cooking. And it could have been that just one thing you realized, wow, this is now a standard. And no matter who I'm going to date in the future, they need to have this standard. They need to make me feel this way, this certain way, that I'm just completely content with them having a kid with me. And I think it becomes harder because you progress through life. Obviously, as long as you're growing, I don't think that's an issue, but you're going to look for that standard always. And I'm sure that if you're going to meet a woman now who's going to say, I'm not going to cook, you're going to be like, sorry, not going to work out. Because you've set a standard, you know what you had before, and you're not willing to go one step below that, which can also be perhaps a trap because, in this dating sphere, when you go too hard into searching, and this works for both sexes, is it can happen that you just find the peak of the plateau and you don't know how to get back down. It's once you have an iPhone for $1,500, like, are you really going to go and buy a phone next that's going to be £800? Probably not. If once you drive a Rolls Royce, do you really want to go back to being in a Vauxhall Astra? Like, probably not. And so I think we have to be meticulous and a little bit more cautious about what things we try in life, because you can reach a little bit too far. And I think you can go a little bit into the Garden of Eden, and grab something that perhaps you might reject. Whether this is standards for men, whether this is trauma and kinks and fetishes for women, which often happen because it's baggage, and you can end up, constantly taking that with you. But I absolutely agree with you. Like, you need to make sure that the woman you want to be with has certain characteristics that will make her a good mother. And you expect nothing less of yourself to be a good person who's going to be able to provide for your family, who'll be able to protect, who'll be able to, ensure that your kids have the correct direction in growing up, and that they're going to grow up hopefully in a good marriage, not in a divorce to happen and fights to occur and, physical and mental violence and so on, which so many kids nowadays suffer from. And then you look at single mother homes, and it's one of the biggest correlations to crime and depression and anxiety and all these things, which ironically we're seeing more and more of. And I think the bottom line of it is that men have lost their spine and women have dropped some of their standards. I think the combination of those two is going to ruin our society if we don't do something about it. And the best place to start is with yourself.
Yep, totally. And I've definitely experienced this. I mean, in fact, there was a video that I saw. So when I was setting up my TikTok account, straight away, some 13-year-old recording police cars going past, flashing lights,
Mm.
going to an alley, setting a fridge on fire. And I just think, is this actually the future now? Is this degeneracy actually the future? And when I leave the house and travel 10 minutes down the road, you see this. You see this sort of behaviour, and you just think, why? What do you get out of life for acting like a complete idiot? Like, it just, for me, it doesn't make sense. And my son will definitely be taught the mannerisms of a highly respected man. I wouldn't want him doing all this stuff. In fact, if he were to do this stuff, and if I were to find out about it, there would be fucking hell to pay, because I will not accept that sort of behaviour in my life. And I'm sorry, I don't, I don't agree with it. I just do not agree that you should be targeting vulnerable people because you think you are something that you're not. And to me, it's probably a way of releasing trauma, the way that they act. Because it's just a very simple case of monkey see, monkey do. If you see your parents fighting, you're going to be a very aggressive, undisciplined little shit at school. And looking at people who were like that at school, they haven't changed much. Their quality of life has dropped massively, and you could almost see it coming. Whereas the people who weren't that sort of popular, the ones who are quite introverted, shy, you look at what they're doing. They're doing some really amazing things because they haven't had the ego to think that they're the best. They've been put down, and all of a sudden they've realised actually I can build myself up, and they've done exactly that.
Mm.
Even unconsciously, they've worked on themselves, and that's really good to see. But it's society needs stronger men,
Yeah,
stronger
and
men
you
who
definitely do
won't.
not want to peak in school. Like,
No,
you peak in school, you're screwed
no.
for the rest of your life. Because you're
Mm.
going to be riding that
It's
high for a few years, and you're the high school jock, you're getting all the attention, but then that stuff goes away. And if you don't have the discipline, you're going to get driven over.
mm. And for someone who is that person to leave high school and to go on that path of self improvement, it takes a lot of bollocks. And I
Mm.
mean, fair play to someone who's completely changed their life around. Um, I'm trying to think of an example, but I don't speak or see anyone from school anyway, so I wouldn't know. It's just my friendship group, and that's it.
How do you deal with
But
there is a lot of ridicule I've noticed surrounding the whole self improvement. Because as soon as you mention it, it's almost like there should be, you know, obvious and everybody's doing it. It's because the mastermind group that I'm in, when they first added me last year and I opened up their Instagram profile, and you have these motivational quotes, and if you look at them and you think, oh, this is cringe. Like, I don't need this. Subconsciously, all of us, I think we've become a little bit unadaptive to the positivity of certain messages. We're almost like, yeah, I don't need this stuff. Like, this is mumbo jumbo, positive bullshit. Like, I already know all this. Um, could be something as simple as a quote from a Bible. Could be something from one of those Tate people or whatever. But I think you look at it, and so many people are judgmental because they think, oh, I don't need this. I already know all of this. But as soon as I
yeah,
joined and as soon as I started talking to these people, I no longer look at it the same. I see the absolute value that it is in having good quality quotes that you write down, that you have filtered, that you have for individual topics. If this is stoicism, if this is relationships, if this is business, a simple quote can go a long way. And do you feel like any emotions towards people that will almost want to put you down and have this attitude of like, look at this guy thinking he's gonna, do something with his business, or yapping on a podcast about some stuff he hasn't seen the world anyways. Like, it's not as easy to get over an addiction. I feel people always try to take the easy route out, and the easy route tends to be perceived as the no-go, tends to be perceived as the negative. The, you know, it cannot be done, don't even bother trying. And it can be as simple as, you going to your mum and saying, Mum, I'm going to start a multi-million dollar company. And the response, usually from even people that, love you, they've put you into this planet, will go, dude, just get a job. Just get a job. Just stop dreaming. And I feel like
So
people,
I don't mean to be rude right now, but I'm
yeah,
going to stop you in the tracks because I have so much to say.
okay.
But I'm just trying to retain everything. Okay, so I'm going to go back onto the point of the motivation and all of that stuff. So motivation is bullshit. The motivational quotes, they do not help me. It does not
Mhm.
get me out of bed. For me, it's that I know what I need to do. I've already understood. In fact, I recorded a video yesterday of this very specific thing. I have set certain specific rules in my head that I must follow at all times. If I'm not following at all times, that means that I'm not working on myself. I'm not working. So it could be when I'm doing something, I'm 100% focused and present in the moment. And basic stuff of when I get out of bed, I'm going to have a shower, like a cold shower.
Mm.
It could literally be anything in the world. Make your own rules. You've got to make your own religion because, and I've changed my view on religion so much. Religion itself as the story could be a lie, but the values and the rules that you gain from religion is priceless, and it's a guide for absolutely everyone to follow. There is no excuse. If you don't follow a religion, if you haven't got someone or something to answer to, whether that's yourself or a god or anything that you believe, then you are going to do some pretty wild stuff because you haven't got that doubt in your mind. And for me, I believe in myself. I couldn't care what other people think because I'll be completely honest, I have not gained anything from other people. Yes, there's been opportunities that have come up, but everything that I've achieved in life is because that I have been prepared to fight through my own personal battles.
Mm.
In fact, I'm going to tell you a little story. So when I started my apprenticeship, my apprentice master said, "Yeah, give it a week, he'll be gone." Because back then, I did not look or act like someone who was about to go into a trade. And the trades was the thing that built me up the most. The trade, the hanging around with some really vibrant people. That was what built me. So if someone were to from school to come onto my podcast and think, "Oh, what's this dickhead doing? Doing something. I'm doing fucking more than what you are."
Mm.
Because I can guarantee you that I'm working 10 times harder to achieve the things that I want whilst you're sitting there scrolling through my fucking YouTube channel or my Instagram or my TikTok, okay? Go to do something. Do something. Start a family. Because once you wake up and once you start to grow yourself as a person, you stop giving a shit about what other people are doing.
Mm.
And my friend Holly, I love her to fucking bits. She is honestly such a fucking incredible person. She met up with some bloke. They got married. They got 2 kids. They got a dog. They got a house. She is happy. She doesn't give a flying fuck what other people think of her. That's exactly how I am. I believe in myself. I have a set rule. I have rules that I follow. And because I am so determined, I don't care. I generally do not care. And it was quite interesting because I was at football one day and we'd won 3-0, quite an easy win. And I left 2-3 minutes early because I wanted to get out, I wanted to get home, I wanted to get to bed. It was a Tuesday night, it was late, and someone behind me goes, Why are you fucking leaving early? We're fucking winning. So I just simply turn around. Have you got to be up at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning? Yeah, I have actually. Well, you better fucking come with me then. Right? To me, for him to get back at 12 o'clock at night after watching a game of football and getting pissed up, for him to apparently wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, to me, that just seems like you don't care. You either haven't got to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or there's no effort of what you're actually trying to achieve in your life. So it's I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm better than what I was last week. I'm better than what I was a month ago. I am tenfold better than what I was a fucking year ago. Not even mentioned back in 2016 when I left school. I am so much better, and for me, that I'm proud that I've actually gained the knowledge, I've gained the experience, and that I'm here today with my values. It's everyone has their own journey. You just got to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the ability not to give a shit about what anyone thinks is that's the killer instinct. That's the thing that will make you really go far.
100%. 100%.
Let me just plug in.
Because yeah, there's a lot of people that will put their energy. I said this thing. I said they will hate you, but they will consume you. You know, they will judge you.
Mhm.
They'll open up, like you said, your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, your YouTube, and they'll think, oh, look at this like loser. Look at what he's doing. Like you
And they
said,
laugh.
they're having a laugh, but
Hmm.
you know, it's ironic because you look at any content creators, but if we're specifically talking about content creation, but really, I think any journey ever, people look at the beginnings at the start and they'll laugh at it. You know, and I've done the same thing for some other people. I'll be like, yeah, sure you will. But it's once that, you know, the big cog of the machine starts to go and that person starts to get somewhere, then it's no longer that funny. Then it starts to be really impressive. And then people will completely change their mind. They'll go in direction, yeah, well, I was there at the beginning, you know. It's like I knew him before he was famous. It's like, yeah, and did you believe in him? Or were you one of those, you know, silent doubters, you know, backseat gamers? And I think that it's just like you say, you have to just stop caring and really focus on yourself. And I always use the same analogy, and that is if you're in an airplane and the oxygen suddenly drops and the masks fall down, what's the first thing you do? You put it on yourself and then you put it on everybody else. So you make sure that you're secured, you make sure that your philosophy in life, your rules, as you mentioned, are fit out and function, and then you'll care for the rest of the world. But until those criteria are set, I don't give a flying F about anything else because I got to make sure that I'm going to swim in the case that shit hits the fan. And then if I've got the opportunity, I've got a trade, I can build a boat, then I can be Noah and I can invite everybody else on the boat. And we can all live merrily happy after. But until that's done, we're all going to be there like Jack and Rose from Titanic on a you know giant floating board, and one of us is going to die, and it's probably going to be me. So I'll take my chances. I'll build the boat.
Yeah, that's just nail on the head there. Absolute nail on the head. People will laugh at what you do.
Mm.
It's just even if it's just a simple job or a car or what you're wearing, people will judge because you're not doing the same thing as what they are,
Mm.
and they've got they'll soon realise that they've got self doubt and will start to analyse their own life. But you've for someone to come onto my channel and to type a comment that may not be constructive, just purely hateful. To me, that one, it doesn't offend me, but two, that makes me just feel sorry for you because what has happened in your life for you to say or justify saying something like that? Can't you can't you learn something from what I'm trying to say?
Mm.
But the thing is, a lot of people can't, and a lot of people are so stuck up in their own ways that they forget that there's so many opinions, there's so many different ways that you could live and go through life. Not everything should be their way. And when they realize that, they can get, pissed off and not happy. Simple thing is, if people are hateful, just let them be. Like, it's not worth your energy to sit there and argue with them. It's not worth the energy of trying to understand why they're like that. It's pointless. It's a complete waste of time. And there's so many better things that you could be doing with your life. But it's you've just got to let them sort of people get on with it. They'll find their way, and if they don't find their way, well, unlucky. It's not your problem.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, and it's a challenge that everyone needs to get over.
But that's, I
But
think most people are miserable. Most people are
yeah,
living unfulfilling lives with unfulfilling careers, with unfulfilling people in their life, and misery is one cold-hearted bitch because she loves company. So these people will surround themselves with more miserable people so that they can just rant and remove all kind of positivity from their life just to make themselves feel better. Because if my life is shit, then it's in my interest that everybody around me has shitty lives so that I don't feel bad about it. And it's a really, really bad way to
and
live.
that goes back to the convenience of things. If everything is convenient, if everyone has it's just such an unfulfilling life, why don't they put themselves through something harder? Because renting, yeah, venting your anger and your emotions is a very convenient way of sorting the issue out. Whereas if you take the harder route and actually try and solve why you're angry or
Mm.
emotional or upset, whatever it is you're going through, yes, it's the harder route, but it tends to be the one that allows you to grow. And you tend not to go back to doing the same old convenient stuff that you have been used to. So everything in life, I believe, comes down to convenience. Are you prepared to skip a corner? If you are prepared to skip a corner, why? What do you gain from it? Is it easier to go the long way round? And that's just life. That's people like to cut corners, but if they haven't got the actual sort of substructure in place to support the superstructure, the building that you're planning on building on top, then it's gonna fall down. You'll get to a certain height and things will break. Things won't work. Things just won't marry up. Measurements will be wrong, and the house will fall down. And just take your time, do things right. Be quick in what you do. Be quick in the way that you work. So I'm not saying spend an hour doing something, then go and play games. Be quick with the way you work, but make sure that the way you're working is very thorough, that you're doing things right, and you're making sure that you are not skipping corners. But that's it. Yeah, you can think of the gym as well. Think of the gym. Skip corners, skip exercises. You aren't gonna actually get the workout that you want. You may think you have, but you just won't. You need to hit the gym and do things properly, do things thoroughly. Make sure that you aren't missing sets or going on a lighter weight because you just don't want to push yourself. Push yourself in every aspect of your life, and you will guarantee yourself that you will get some sort of result. And if it isn't the result that you want, keep going because every time you look back, you're a little bit better. 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 You keep working hard. You're a little bit better. All of a sudden, it's been 3 years, and you've built yourself a completely different life.
Yeah.
But when you look at it in the macro or the micro, whatever it is, you can't see change. But when you look at a long time frame, you can honestly see such a massive difference. I mean, even the fact that even the difference in how I talk into a microphone and the camera, comparing it to what it was the first time, I can I can feel the improvement, and I cannot wait to see the outcome of the video. with the videos that I've recorded myself, the amount of improvement I've still got. In fact, I've still got the old War Thunder videos. I got like five. No, I got about 9 War Thunder videos that I'd made in inspiration of your content. And hello everybody, this is the Spitfire Mark 6 V6 with the tropical camo. It has a battle rating of 5.7 or whatever it fucking was. And you just think, how can you have like that low energy? And you compare side by side everything that's going on, and just as long as you see improvement, you know you're on the right track.
Yeah. That's a wonderful one way to put it. As long as you see improvement. And I think sometimes when you set the scale, I think of it as like zooming out. You could just go a little bit further away because, yeah, you put your head up against the grass and the roots, and you'll be like, yeah, this looks pretty flat. But when you start, going outwards and outwards, and you see the planet, like, oh, wait a minute, this is freaking massive, and you keep going, like, okay, solar system, this is really, really big. If you keep going, like, eventually your brain will implode from the sheer vastness of it. And I think the same is with the opportunities you have in life, because you might look at your skinny self and think, yeah, I can never get bulk. But then you zoom out a little bit and you think, okay, so we can, and then you zoom out a little bit more and you keep zooming, and you'll realize that sooner or later you could build yourself into a Hercules if you want to. And it won't take, a millennia. You can do it in your lifetime just simply by following simple, small baby steps. But like I said, as long as you see improvement, you're on the right track, 100%. I think it's good for people to remind themselves that they are making change, because we are living in a world where if it's not happening immediately, surely we're doing something wrong. And that's why it scares me when it comes to medicine, when it comes to cures for anxiety, depression, addictions, because you're seeking an immediate solution to a problem that really might just be a bad habit that took years to develop and will take years to get rid of. But you can get rid of it, and by replacing it with a better habit, you're completely revolutionizing the way you live. Instead of saying, this is a disease, let's cure it instantaneously, because I think what you're doing is just really going even deeper into that ground, digging a hole. Instead of seeing the bigger picture, you're going to be starting to see less and less and less until there's pitch dark, cold, nothing to see. And by that time, I think it's going to be pretty hard to crawl out of that pit you've dug yourself into.
Especially if you don't have the skills required to dig yourself out, the tools.
Yeah.
It's just a complete waste of energy and time to even get yourself there in the first place. But
and a lot of people like to take a very big shovel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to find the edge.
Yeah.
If you can find that you've got an edge in life, you'll go far. My edge would probably be my sheer determination to get out of my 9 to 5, to work hard, to make something of myself, to help other people. And if I can do that, I will live a very fulfilling life and I'll be happy. Some people, their edge could be their ability in sport. If they were to focus on sport, go for it. But it's definitely starts with your mental strength, and just keeping that intense pressure on yourself, letting yourself build, letting yourself grow. And you might go through 4, 5, 6 years of pain, like we both have, but you come out of there completely different, and then you find new problems that you've got to try and overcome. But as a problem solver, I quite enjoy that. I quite enjoy the thrill of having an issue or having stress that keeps me in line, keeps me sort of not wandering off the path, and it keeps me sort of able to improve myself even more. So
I think that's all men. I think any man right now listening to this, if you currently don't have a problem in your life, something's wrong. something seriously wrong with you if you don't have a problem that you are going to wake up tomorrow to try to solve, you know. And again, it goes back to the connotation, the context of words, and why one of the ways that I try to teach people with English and in general in life is that don't look at words as their raw dictionary meaning, because we don't use words that way in society. And the word problem has a huge negative connotation when, in a lot of contexts, it could be the greatest thing in the world. Because the problem you're having is a problem some third world country person will kill for. They would kill to have your problems. So be happy that you have them. Work on solutions actively, inch by inch, day by day. And like you said, as long as you see improvements, you're on the right path.
I think that's a perfect place to end it.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was wonderful. I think we're going to do this at least twice a year because I love talking to you. I love seeing you progress. Yeah. And I'm going to make an assessment here that by the end of 2024, there's going to be no stutter in your voice because you've progressed so much. And I love seeing you develop this aura, this confidence, you know, because it really, even though this is, you know, through the internet, through the power of a camera and a microphone, I can feel you just oozing this energy, and I love to see it.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. So it's definitely, it's good to have these widgets of progress or yes, it's almost like chapters. You can go back, you can reread a chapter, and the ability to see where you've improved is it's such a powerful tool. It's amazing. So it's a really good opportunity to learn as well. I've learned a lot about sort of myself and talking and how I present my information, and it's definitely an improvement for me, and it'd be nice to grow my channel and my social media and the platforms and my own personal presence as much as I can within the next sort of time that we speak. So just focus on creating some content, good quality content, keep people entertained, keep people watching, and hopefully we should be able to change some people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man.
Thank you.